This will be the most luxurious Persian scimitar, made of Damascus steel you've ever seen, the legendary Crescent and Star Damascus pattern scimitar. The blade is not only forged from thousands of stacked layers of Damascus steel and subjected to multiple extreme twists, but also crafted with the master bladesmith's exquisite 6-in-1 forging technique, ultimately resulting in this unprecedented Crescent and Star patterned Persian scimitar. Years ago, this master had already forged a similar dagger, so he was equally confident in designing this Persian scimitar this time around. When it came to material selection, he still opted for 15N20 steel and 1084 steel, stacking them alternately. After completing the welding and heating, he directly used a power hammer to pound the steel billet until it fused, while also extending the billet in length. But this was far from finished. He then split the fused steel billet into two halves. Looking at the cross-section, the W-shaped pattern inside the steel was already clearly visible. The master bladesmith performed a second stacking of the steel in a 5-in-1 configuration. Despite the extremely exaggerated number of layers, he still chose to use the power hammer to fuse them together. During the fusion process, his control over the power hammer was absolutely flawless. Each blow was delivered with just the right amount of force. A little harder and the steel might crack. A little lighter and it wouldn't achieve maximum efficiency. Even with such skilled forging techniques, stretching such thick steel still took a considerable amount of time. After 2 rounds of stacking, he cut the cooled steel into 6 pieces, welded a working rod to each piece individually, and then hammered each billet separately. So he not only needed to lengthen the billets, but also forge them into an octagonal shape. This step was extremely tedious. It required not only the bladesmith's exceptional forging skills, but also years of accumulated experience. Each billet had to be stretched to the exact same length, and their external parameters had to be uniformly consistent to a certain degree. Then came the most difficult stage, twisting the 6 billets. 3 were twisted clockwise, and the other 3 counterclockwise. Even with tool assistance, this process demanded constant focus. He had to maintain consistent twisting parameters for the billets while preventing oxidized impurities from seeping into the steel's interior. Once impurities entered, they would create irreparable cracks inside. Each billet was hammered into a square of uniform size, marking the start of the final stage of billet forging. 6-in-1 twisted Damascus stacking. This stacking would form top-tier Crescent and Star Damascus patterns within the billet. This was the most critical step. He chose to hammer gently and periodically clean the surface of the billet to keep impurities out. Any impurity would be a fatal flaw for this legendary blade. After achieving a perfect fusion of the billet, he used a hand hammer to shape the upward curving blade tip, cut off the excess scrap from the tail end, which he repurposed to make the guard and pommel, and also used the power hammer to shape the tang of the blade. After making a few final adjustments to the details, the blade blank was basically complete. Following a round of grinding, it was time for the quenching process, and he selected the most stable, single medium oil quenching method. Next came the crafting of the guard and pommel. First, he used a blowtorch to soften the steel for the guard and shaped it into an S-curve. He also quenched both the guard and pommel for added durability. For the handle, he chose curly blue maple wood, a material with beautiful color and grain, as well as excellent stability. Once the entire scimitar was assembled, he applied a separate resin coating to the handle, which not only protected the wood, but also significantly enhanced its visual appeal to make the painstakingly forged Damascus pattern clearly visible on the blade. He also performed an acid bath. Additionally, he soaked the blade in coffee solution to deepen the contrast of the surface patterns and make them more pronounced. At this point, the legendary blade was fully completed. The Crescent and Star patterns were neatly arranged along the blade, converging at the tip. At the end of the video, let's sit back and quietly admire this mysterious and stunning scimitar.